Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me. So, I spoke again last week to the Public Safety Standing Committee at City Hall, and this time I was addressing the issue of censorship within city government. The council members have overtly censored me and covertly censored me. I encourage you to go back and watch the past videos, and you'll see the Honorable Reva Trammell overtly censoring me. And so, but then in July, I was covertly censored. My public handout was censored. In this particular meeting, after I spoke, the president, Kristen Nye, says that my public handout is on the record. So let's follow along and we'll see. So let's kind of rewind. This is me speaking in July. Before I spoke this particular day, I emailed a public handout. In the past, I had brought a hard copy of my public handout. This time I emailed. I just thought it would be easier for me. I thought it'd be easier for the clerks so they don't have to scan in the information. So that's what I did this particular day. I emailed my public handout. Now that public handout that I emailed is what is not on the record, okay? So let me just show you real quick what the public handout was that I emailed, and think about what was in here that is causing so much problems. What is it that they don't want the public to see? So this is my speech. I wrote it out so people could take the time to read it and, decide for themselves if what I'm saying is correct. And we've got the second page. Then I have a little bit about free speech. The Virginia Attorney General, Mark Herring, his opinion on free speech. And then I have links to the past speeches that I've done. I posted them to YouTube. In addition to that, I have the search warrant that's being called into question. And then, just in case people had a hard time understanding what it was the issue, the officer claims to have executed the warrant 70 days after it was issued. Search warrants expire 15 days. So the magistrate issued the search warrant on 10/31/2023, and the officer claims to have executed the warrant January 8, 2024. So that's a difference of 70 days, if I've done my math correctly, which I hope I did. And then we've got another example of an issue where it was received and filed by the Circuit Court January 8, 2024 at 11:52 hours. At the exact same time that the officer claims to have executed the warrant, January 8, 2024 at 11:52 hours. You cannot be in two places at the exact same second. So you cannot be handing the search warrant to the clerks at the courthouse at the exact same time you are executing the warrant. And then lastly, I just wanted to provide the an example of the Code of Virginia. And so here we go. We've got any search warrant not executed within 15 days after issuance thereof shall be returned to and voided by the officer who issued such search warrant. And just for some of you out there who might not be very familiar, the word officer here does not mean police officer. In this situation, it means the magistrate, okay? So any search warrant not executed within 15 days after issuance thereof shall be returned to and voided by the magistrate who issued such search warrant. So it needed to be taken back to the magistrate and voided. But nonetheless, they claim to have executed it. The bank denies that. The bank does not agree. Okay, so that was the handout that I emailed. I'll just show you really briefly a copy, a screenshot of the email. And so you can see I emailed the clerks before I spoke that day. Here's the attachment of my public handout. And then because they did not post my public handout, I emailed again on August 24th. And excuse me, it's August 13th, 2024. I emailed them again August 13th, 2024. Them again to post my public handout. So it was not. So what I wound up doing was email. So I emailed the first time before I spoke that day. Then I emailed the second time saying, hey, it wasn't, my handout wasn't posted. I thought maybe it was just simply a mistake. And then because the issue still didn't get rectified, I made a phone call and I spoke to the clerk, and the clerk said that my public handout was being censored on purpose. Okay, that this whole thing was done on purpose. Interesting, huh? So what is on the record? We've got a public handout here. So what is it? This public handout is just a copy of the search warrant. So you can see here, it's just a copy of the search warrant. That's it. And how did they get that? Let me show you the shenanigans that's being played. So to me, the way it's coming across to me is that they don't want to post the public handout that I emailed to them that has the breakdown of the search warrant, the Attorney General's opinion on free speech, and links to the videos, YouTube videos. So they don't want to post that. But I guess to kind of do some trickery with the public, they post something to act like, well, a public handout does exist. So let me show you the trick that's being played, in my opinion, and I do call it a trick. So how did they get that search warrant? I'll show you. Here I am speaking, getting ready to speak about the breakdown of the search warrant.
This counsel has accused me of not having any evidence relating to the issues I have raised in the last 3 meetings. Here's the search warrant that is being called into.
Notice the search warrant. So I'm doing a speech. These are my speaker's note. And I'm saying, here's a search warrant that's being called into question. And I set it down and continue to speak. And watch what happens.
Question. These are the apparent problems. 1, the search warrant was written to the wrong bank and RPD knew it. RPD was told verbally, by email, and with a flash drive.
There we go. Okay, so the clerk is taking my notes. I'm in the middle of my speech. I'm only given 3 minutes to speak, and I know I've been interrupted. The previous time I spoke, I was interrupted to the point where I did not get to finish my speech, okay? And I was not happy that I did not get to finish my speech. I do these speeches and I time them over and over and over to make sure I'm under 3 minutes. But the councilwoman had chewed through so much of my 3 minutes. They did not let me regain my time, and I didn't get to finish my speech. So when the clerk takes my speaker's notes, I don't stop speaking so I can have a conversation with the clerk about these are my speaker's notes. I continue speaking, right? I was kind of thinking in my mind, well, maybe they didn't print out what I emailed them, the public handout that I emailed them, and perhaps they would like to follow along. So go ahead and, I was just thinking, take the search warrant, it's a copy, so what does it matter? Take the search warrant if you want to follow along. That's kind of what I was thinking. Bottom line is, I'm not going to stop speaking. I'm not. I only have 3 minutes. They don't let me regain my time. I'm not going to have a back and forth conversation. So when I spoke last week, when I spoke last week and said my public handout is not on the record, and Kristen Nye says it is on the legislative website, you see the games that are being played. They took my speaker's notes and put them on the legislative website to then claim, to then, in my opinion, deceive the public. And I think this is all done deliberately, especially since I emailed twice and I phoned them twice. So, in my opinion, they know exactly what's going on, right? So, I think she knows what's going on. I think she knows that she intends on deceiving the public because she claims that the public handout that I am referencing is on the legislative website, and the public handout that I'm referencing in the speech, and I specifically discuss I specifically discuss three components of the handout that's missing. I say the breakdown of the bogus search warrant, the Attorney General's opinion, and my YouTube video. So she claims that a public handout that has all three of those components to it is there. And you see, it is not there. Okay? So what are you going to believe? What comes out of her mouth or your eyes? It's not here. You see the date, you see the handout, it is not there, and I've asked them to put it there. Okay, so let's now play, one other thing before we play the video of me speaking. I want to show you what they did to this woman here. This was the first time that she'd ever spoken before. I want to show you how far they're willing to go to save face. Watch what they do to this woman. Now, this is her first time speaking. She didn't have anything to give to them, but watch what happens.
And do installations all over the city, and I've never had any problem with parking tickets since I bought the trailer in 2005. I use a 6 by 10 foot enclosed utility trailer.
Here comes the clerk.
That carries, pardon me? Sure.
Look, that's how far they're willing to go. And you could see me in the background. I'm just thinking, what in the world is going on? They interrupt this woman in order to take the information. Clearly, that is not something that she was intending on giving right then. This whole charade eats up several seconds of her speech. The clerk comes back a second time and interrupts her. And then they go even further when the clerk says you have 30 seconds left. That eats up seconds. And she has to say it twice. You have 30 seconds left, because the woman, she didn't understand what she said the first time. So this woman lost about, I would estimate, somewhere around 25 seconds of speaking time. They didn't let her continue to speak. The links that people will go to in order to chew through time, and the links that they're willing to go to in order to act like, this is what we do. We take speakers' notes, and then act like this is the public record. I mean, this poor woman, did she email a public handout beforehand? But then they're going to say, well, sorry, we're not going to post what you emailed to us because we collected something here. I mean, it's ridiculous. I just want to touch on one of the other reasons of why I was told my public handout is not being put on the record. I'm told that, well, if you want your public handout to be on record, if you speak in person, then you must provide your public handout in person. You may not speak in person and email your public handout ahead of time. So you can't speak in person and email. It must be a virtual speech and email, digital, or in person. You can't mix and match. And it just blows my mind that this is what they want to come up with. It shows how far they're willing to go to make sure information doesn't get disseminated to the public. You know, again, you only have 3 minutes. I'm told time and time again, well, where's the evidence? Where's the evidence? I only have 3 minutes to speak. I don't have that much time to communicate the evidence. So what I do is I give it to them in the form of a public handout. I speak in person, and then I give them, you know, sometimes a stack of information to be put on the record. That's what we're left with, you know, for the public. So it just blows my mind what they're willing to do. So I really did feel bad for this woman, because there were other things that I know she wanted to talk about, and she wasn't able to get through it, and they don't let you continue to talk. So now that we've kind of set the scene, so we'll get to this. So here I am calling them out on the fact that my public handout that discusses the breakdown of the search warrant, that discusses free speech, and that has my YouTube video links up, it's not there. So here we go.
Madam Chairman of the Public Safety Committee, civil rights have been violated in regards to free speech. My speech has been overtly chilled when I have spoken before this honorable committee in March, April, and June, not to mention my public handout for July. Here's the receipts. The U.S. Constitution guarantees freedom of speech. The Virginia Constitution asserts that freedom of speech is among the great bulwarks of liberty. Additionally, didn't the honorable public officials take an oath saying, "I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Virginia, and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent upon me according to the best of my ability, so help me God"? Moreover, the affairs of government are not intended to be conducted in an atmosphere of secrecy. When speech is censored, it is a violation of our most basic rights in America. Madam Chairman, what was it in particular about my public comment handout that is to be kept secret from the public? Was it the breakdown of the bogus search warrant? Was it the Attorney General's opinion on free speech? Or was it the link to my YouTube channel at Whitewater Sarah 9824, showing the proceedings of this honorable body publicly censoring me? Look, I don't know exactly why this committee is not upholding their oath to support the U.S. Constitution and the Virginia Constitution, but the censorship is objectionable and needs to stop immediately, not only for the sake of me or the sake of Richmond, but for the sake of America. So please honor your oath. Thank you. To the Honorable Reva Trammell.
Thank you so much. Thank you. How's your mom?
She's well, thank you for asking.
Thank you. Tell her I said hello. Thank you.
Is there anyone else here today that would like to provide comments for items, for anything not on today's agenda?
So Madam Chair, I just want to note for the record that the handouts were posted on the legislative website that the last speaker referred to. Thank you.
Okay. So we're going to break that down. So she says that the handouts were posted. The handouts that the last speaker was discussing was posted to the legislative website. Now, I just want to show you my speech over here. Remember, there's several components, so I'm asking her, and this is the speech that you just watched. It says, was it the breakdown of the bogus search warrant? Was it the Attorney General's opinion on free speech? Or was it the link to my YouTube channel at Whitewater Sarah 9824 showing the proceedings of this honorable body publicly censoring me? So Kristen just stated that that it's there, that a public handout that has those components to it are there. That's the public handout. I said the July handout. It is not there. We've already taken a look at it. You can see it is not there. No matter how many times I keep downloading it, it is not there. Whoops. It's just not there. So, okay, let's get out of this. I would like to show you, what's going on here in this video. So let's just back it up a little bit more. Because they were playing so many shenanigans, saying that, well, if you want to speak in person, then your public handout must be submitted in person. So here I am, because they won't let me email it and it be on the record. So I'm giving them the public handout before I speak. Okay, I don't want any interruptions. You say I'm not allowed to email it, so I'm gonna give it to them in person. Now, the other thing I do is, because, here, watch this, because the clerk took my speaker's notes, I dropped some of my notes on the ground just so she doesn't collect them. So watch, I think it's right here. I set them on the ground. I was gonna set them up on the counter over here, the railing, but I'm like, I don't want any funny business. So I set them down. Okay.
Madam Chairman of the Public Safety Committee, civil rights have been violated in regards to free speech. My speech has been overtly chilled.
You can see it throws me off. I try to hand it ahead of time, but yet, here we go again.
When I have spoken before this honorable committee in March, April, and June, not to mention my public handout for July. Here's the receipt for this honorable committee in March, April, and June, not to mention my public handout for July. Here's the receipts. The U.S. Constitution guarantees freedom of speech. The Virginia Constitution asserts that freedom of speech is among the great bulwarks of liberty. Additionally, didn't the honorable public officials take an oath saying, I do solemnly swear that I...
The city ordinance uses the language saying that, I believe it says city council is to take the oath. So these people have to take an oath to uphold the Constitution. This is their oath, straight off of the Muni Code website, Richmond Muni Code.
Support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Virginia, and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent upon me according to the best of my ability. So help me God. Moreover, the affairs of government are not intended to be conducted in an atmosphere of secrecy. When speech is censored, it is a violation of our most basic rights in America. Madam Chairman, what was it in particular about my public comment handout that is to be kept secret from the public? Was it the breakdown of the bogus search warrant? Was it the Attorney General's opinion on free speech? Or was it the link to my YouTube channel at Whitewater Sarah 9824, showing the proceedings of this honorable body publicly censoring me? Look, I don't know exactly why this committee is not upholding their oath to support the U.S. Constitution and the Virginia Constitution, but the censorship is objectionable and needs to stop immediately, not only for the sake of me or the sake of Richmond, but for the sake of America. So please honor your oath. Thank you. To the Honorable Reva Trammell.
Thank you so much. Thank you. How's your mom?
She's well, thank you for asking.
Thank you. Tell her I said hello. Thank you.
Now, I was trying to flush out who was censoring my public handout. At first, I thought it was Reva Trammell because she had interrupted me when I spoke previously. But after this meeting, I suspect that it was Kristen. One reason is because Reva, you can see she's very pleased. Her and I had, it was pleasant, even though I was, critical. I was pleasant towards her, and she was pleasant in return. Kristen was not so happy with me, and you can't really see it in the video, but when she says that the information is on the legislative website, I stand up and ask, am I to respond in return? And she sharply responds by saying no. So I'm more inclined to believe that it was Kristen who is behind the fact that my public handout is being censored. I want to show you, I'm just going to zoom in. You can see over here, so I'm collecting the papers that I dropped on the floor, but you can see here's her, Kristen's liaison, and they're having a little discussion. And after their little discussion, Kristen's going to respond. I believe that if she didn't know what was going on, she would say, we can see it on the legislative website. What are you talking about? And then I would have been able to respond by saying, no, what's on the legislative website was my speaker's notes that the clerk took that day. I emailed my public handout, and, that public handout again had several components to it. And that public handout is not on the legislative website. It is not. Before I forget, because the handout that I submitted by email, sorry, that's their nonsensical one. So because this handout that I emailed never got put on the record, when I showed up in person last Tuesday, I printed out that handout, and resubmitted it a second time. And when I checked this morning, it still wasn't there. So we'll check one more time before this video is over. So here I am picking up my notes because I didn't want them getting taken.
Is there anyone else here today that would like to provide comments for items, anything not on today's agenda?
So Madam Chair, I just want to note for the record that the handouts were posted on the legislative website that the last speaker referred to. Thank you.
So I ask, am I to respond? She shakes her head and says no. You can't hear that because the microphones are turned off. So let's bounce over to see if the handout that I submitted that day, that includes July's handout, so I resubmitted it for the second time, is on the website, and it is not. It still isn't there. So this is the Public Safety Standing Committee, July 24th. Excuse me, it's September 24th, so we're looking at September 24th, 2024, 9/24/2024. And you see it would say public handout, or public comment handout, rather. You can see that's what it looks like. So it's not there. This poor woman. So what's going on here? What is going on here? Why is my information being censored? Why are you censoring me? This whole thing got started because a nonprofit social club is being suspected of embezzling. Okay? That's what the search warrant was all about. The police claimed to be investigating and into this organization, and so they claim to have done a search warrant, right? That's what all this is behind. Now, I felt very strongly that Kristen Nye is a member of this organization. I felt very strongly about that. And I know somebody else who feels very strongly about that she goes to this organization. But when I asked her liaison, he said, no, she doesn't go to that organization. And when I asked her directly at a Christmas party, she said no. She said, no, I am not a member of this organization. She doesn't know anything about it. So, I don't know. I don't know what to think. I don't want to make any sort of accusations, but I felt like she goes to this organization, and perhaps maybe, there's a reason why she would want to kind of, cover, for various people to make sure that the public handout doesn't get posted to the government website. I don't know. These are questions only she can answer, but you've seen everything for yourself, right? I've showed you the videos, I've showed you the legislative website, and you can determine for yourself. As Nate the lawyer says, show me where I'm wrong in the comments. If they are, then if I'm wrong, I've made a mistake, I would love to be able to correct it. But as it stands now, it looks like we've got some serious censorship in city government. All right, guys, if you've held on to this long, you are amazing. And if so, help the video and give a thumbs up. Thanks, guys.